Hello, welcome to this video on user form and more macros. A user form lets you create a more interactive Excel file. Lets it easy for you to capture data from your users in a much more interactive way, the same way they input data in web pages where they have a form where there's first name, there's a space, a box where they type in the first name, the usual way most people enter data in most other programs. And in this video I'll be showing you how you create a user form. We'll be creating a user form for a small database, a form that captures the data of the users, maybe bio data in this case. And so we'll say we want to capture the first name, we want to also capture the last name, the phone number, the email, and finally the date of birth. So we would like to create a user form that captures this data from our users. A user form is a form of a macro, so definitely the only way you can create it is through this developer menu tab. In case you don't have the developer menu tab showing in yours, in the last video I showed you how to enable it. You come to File, you come to Options, you go to Customize Ribbon. In yours, if the developer tab is not showing, you have something like this, it's unticked. So you just make sure it's ticked and you click on OK and you will have it showing like I have it showing in mine. So let's create a user form. In creating a user form, you first need to create a macro that will load the user form. And so let's create a macro. We are not going to record this macro like we did in the last one. We're going to create it by inserting a form control. We're going to insert a button, a macro button. So I'll insert it somewhere around here. It's going to ask me what do I want to name the macro I want to tie to this button. I'm going to name it as user form, and I will say it's a new macro. Then here, this is where I want to put in the code that will load my user form. But before I can load the user form, I need to build the user form. So how do I build a user form? You insert a user form actually. So you see under insert menu, I have user form. So this is a user form, and this is where we're going to design our user form. I'm going to change the name in here. I'm going to call it database of users, and I'm going to change this user form 1. I'm going to rename it as database user form. So this is where you name a particular control. In this case, this is the entire user form, and when you see caption, it means what you want to show. Like here, we want this to show as database of users, so it falls under caption. So now that I'm done with renaming my user form itself, I'm going to just drag this down. So I'll go back to the macro I created. Macros are usually in modules. So if you click on module 1, you'll find that macro we inserted. So I'm going to say whenever I click on the macro button, this is going to run, and what you run in this is the user form we've created. The name is database user form. I'm going to say show. So it's going to show that database user form. I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back in here. I need to rename this. To rename it, I'm going to right click and do edit text. So I'm going to rename it as user form. Okay, so if I click on this now, that code behind this macro attached to this button is going to run, and what we put in that code was it should show us the user form. This is it, this user form show. So that's the way you say show user form. So I'm going to come back here. If I click on that, that should happen. So now we have our user form, but as you can see, it has nothing in it. We haven't designed it. So I'm going to close this, and we're going to go back and design the user form. So a user form is going to have a label. So this is a label too. So I'm going to draw a label. So we're going to tell the user, first of all, I'll rename the label. It's most times you don't need to rename a label, but it's become a habit for me to rename every control. So I'm going to call this first name label, and I'm going to say, remember I said caption is what you want the label to display. So I'm going to say this label should display enter your first name, and I would like it to align to the right. So I'll scroll down, I'll see align, text align to the right. Great. So next I need to create the box where the user is going to type in his or her name, and that is called a text box. This is a text box. So I'm going to draw it right in front of my name control. Okay, great. So I have this done. I need to do for first name. I've done for that. I need to do for last name, phone number, email, and date of birth. So I need to do for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So rather than having to create this all over again 5 times, I'm simply going to click on this, hold on the control key, click on this. That way I'm selecting the two at the same time. Then I'll do Control C. Then I'll do Control V to paste. Then I'll drag. Great. I need to redo that. Positioning. Yeah, this is great. Perfect. So I'm going to do Control V again, and then I'll position. I'll have to drag them again. I'll position. Yes, perfect. Control V again, and I'll position. So I've done 1, 2, 3, 4. One more, and then I'll position. Great. So now I have the 5 boxes I need, and I'm going to have to rename them. I'm going to call this label for last name label, and here the caption is going to show enter your last name. And I'm going to do likewise for this. I'm going to say enter your I'm going to call this phone number. Enter your phone number. This is going to be email, and this is going to be enter your email. And this is going to be date of birth. Date of birth I will use DOB. So enter your date of birth. Next is I need to rename the text box too. For text box, I'm not going to enter any caption. We are to use it to capture data from our user, so not to actually present data. This is to get data from our user. I'll only rename the control box itself. So I'll say this should be first name text box. Then the next one I'll say should be last name text box. Then this should be phone number text box. And this should be email text box. And this should be DOB text box. So now we have the form to capture the names, the data from the user, but we need to enter some control that will transfer the data from here onto the form. So we're going to create that control. So I'm going to create a control. A control is going to be a button, a command button. So I'm going to draw the command button in here. And let me drag it just up here. So I'm going to call the command button enter. So once we enter whatever data we have typed. So I'm going to say for caption enter. Great. And let's see how this is going to look like. So we're going to come here once again. Voila, you can see it looking like a regular user form. So let's close it. Let's enter a dummy data. Let's enter my data, Michael Olafusi, my phone number, my email, my date of birth, month, for year 2014. Click on enter, but nothing is happening. Ordinarily, I expect it to move everything in here, move my first name there, my last, fill in this with the data I've entered here, but it's not working. Why? We haven't done anything under this command button to make it transfer this data into our Excel sheet, and that is what we're going to do now. So I'll close this. We'll go back here. To do that, I'll need to double click on this command button, so I'll be able to get into the code behind. Great. Now I want Excel to pick what we have in this user form. This is our user form, and put it into this. Now look at it, we're on sheet 1. The data base itself is in sheet 1, so it's going to put it into sheet 1. But first of all, we need to figure out where the next empty row is. In this case, we know, because we are looking at the sheet, we know that the next empty cell is row 2. So whatever data I type in should fill into here. But once I've filled in something in here, right, the next one is here. So our program should be intelligent enough to know that it should always look for the next. And there is a way to find that in Excel. There is a standard way, which is ordinarily you go to the last cell in Excel. So we are going to enter a command that will figure out the last row in Excel, and then you will do control hop. So which is you jump to the uppermost, you jump to the last filled cell. In this case is a row 2, is a cell in a row 2. So I'm going to delete this. We're going to do that programmatically. So we're going to do, first of all, we're going to find the last row. So there's a command for what we've done now, which is in Excel, cells are identified as range. So to address a cell, you type range. So we want to address the last cell in column A. So we're going to say A. Rather than we going to look for the number of the last cell, we can let Excel do the counting for us. So we'll say how many rows are in this Excel sheet. So whoever opens this with Excel, though ordinarily you can open this with Excel 2003, but if you are to copy this code here and copy it into Excel 2003, it will work, because you are telling Excel to do the counting of rows. You are not locking a particular cell entry, because in Excel 2003 you don't have this many rows, you have about 65,000 rows. So this is one of the benefits of letting Excel do the determination of the last row by itself. So once it has found the last row, we want it to go up like we did when we did control hop to jump up. So we're going to say end. So that's the command to jump up, end Excel hop. So once it has come up in this case, once it jump up, it's going to jump to here because this is the last filled row. We want it to give us the row number. So to give us the row number is dot row, and that is how you find the last row in Excel. So now that we found the last row, we want first name to be whatever we have put in the first name in this database user form. But now we want it to show not in the last row. Now it will be the row after the last row. So we're going to say range column A holds first name. So for first name now, then last row plus 1 equals to first name, the name of that text box that holds the first name. So the value in that text box. And we're also, rather than me retyping these, I'm going to copy and paste. I'm going to paste it 5 times, so I'll just edit. So I know for last name is row B, row C is my next, which is phone number, row D is for email, row E is for date of birth, and I'll have to make the changes in here too. I'm going to say last name, I'm going to say phone number, I'm going to say email, and I'm going to say date of birth, DOB. And that is what we need to enter in here to transfer those data from the user form into our Excel sheet. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to come in here. I'm going to click on this user form. Once again, I'm going to enter my data, my phone number, my email, and my date of birth. I'm going to click on enter, and you can see it has transferred it from here into the Excel sheet, which is what we want. But now I have a little problem. Now that I'm done, let's say I need to enter someone else's record. I need to enter one more record. I will have to manually delete all these, which is not that user friendly. Most forms will have a button for you to clear all the fields. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a button to clear all the fields. So we're going to go back to our user form. So this is the user form. If yours is not showing user form, just come here and double click on this user form here. It will come back in here. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to copy it. This way I don't have to redo, and I'm very sure that I'll be ending up with similar sizes, which is what you want. You don't want it to have one looking bigger than the other. So now that I've done that, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to call this command button clear. So I'm going to say what it's going to do is going to clear all. I'm going to clear all cells. So once I'm done with naming it, I'm going to so I'm going to double click on it. So once I double click on it, I'm going to copy. What I want it to do is I want it to turn each of the text box to empty. So I'm going to say value equals empty. Empty is the quotation mark, the double quotation mark twice. So I'm going to copy this and paste it 5 times like we did then. And I know the next one is named last name, followed by phone number, followed by email, followed by DOB. And that is all. We are setting everything to empty. So I'm going to save this. Once again, I'll click on this, and so let's do it. So I'm going to enter another entry. I'm going to enter John Sparrow. Phone number, I'm going to give him a fictitious phone number, and email john.sparrow@gmail.com. Year of date of birth, we're going to give him June. Let's give him a really long time, so let's say 1956. So I'm going to enter, which is working as expected. But if I want to enter one more entry for an entry for someone else, rather than me deleting now, I can do clear all. Great. So now that I'm done, what if I want to close? Most forms have a close button. Rather than you having to come click here to close, you will see a close or done button. So we're going to do that next. I'm going to close this. So I'll go back to the user form. I'm going to copy this once again and paste. I'll drag it down here. So I'm going to call this button, I'm going to call it close. So once we are done, we want to close the user form. I want to close the user form. Great. So I'm going to double click on this, and to do close is simply unload me. That is the command to close a user form in VBA. So it unloads the user form. Really don't worry so much about the particular commands in here, the particular codes we are entering. What is key now at this stage for you is you understanding the trend, understanding the steps you take in creating a user form, how you create a macro as per the actual codes you type. The only way you learn all these codes is by trial, by you know what you want to do, you go on Google, you ask. That's how I learned all this. I go on Google, I ask, how do I link what is in my text box in my user form to a cell entry? And then I get clues, I get people post what, I get to see similar things people have done. Then I adapt it, I take clues from there to know the actual code I'm to enter in mine. And that's really where you can learn VBA programming. But the only thing that someone has to teach you to help you start that journey, to make it easy for you, is showing you the trend, knowing where to go to create your user form, the steps you take, because it's really hard for you to find that out on your own online. And the good thing is I'm going to give you everything I've done here. You will get the raw file with all these codes, so you can, when it comes to the coding part, you can copy my code. And but what is important is you doing everything yourself in terms of the steps I took in creating the user form, in creating the macro, in linking the macro to the sheet. That is what is much more important, you understanding the process behind everything you are doing. As for the actual codes, they are easy to learn. It's by trial and error. That's the only way everyone learns it. There is no one who knows all the commands, and it's by you figuring out what you want to do, checking online or reading the manual to find out which command, the online help here. There's an help function in here to find out which command can do what you want. And so let's test this. We've already entered the code for closing, so I'm going to test it. Let's see if it's working. And voila, it's working. So now I'm going to resize this. So now we have a very cool way, a user-friendly way of inputting data into this Excel sheet. Now you'll be happy to give this to your other colleagues at work or wherever you want to use this, and they'll be happy to fill this rather than they entering data into this Excel. They'll feel much more comfortable filling it in here. This looks more interactive, and that is the benefit of a user form. So we're going to do a little macro behind this. Let's say you would like to know everyone whose birthday is on this month. So I'm going to create one more user and we make sure his birthday is in August. So one more user, let's say Mary. Phone number is, the email is mary.jane@yahoo.com. Date of birth is 12th August 1986. So I'm going to enter that data in here. Okay, so I'm done entering that data. I'm going to close this. So we want Excel to be able to prompt us, to give us an alert that Mary Jane's birthday is this month, or whoever else we've entered that their birthday is this month. As soon as we open this file, we get an alert. So it makes it easy for us to remember people's birthdays, send them emails, or it's useful if you are a secretary of a club and you are in charge of sending emails, making phone calls to your club members who have birthdays or anniversaries in a particular month. So let's do that. It's also easy to do. So we're going to go back to our VBA, and this time around we'll go to this workbook. So if you double click on this workbook, you get something like this. So what we want is, we want when you open this workbook, that macro should run, that command should run and show us the people having a birthday in that month. So we're going to click on this drop down and choose workbook, and by default you get this workbook open. So this is what happens. This is going to run when you open the workbook. And so what do we want? We want the command to look through this date of birth, and whenever it finds someone whose date of birth is in this month, it should tell us the person's name and say the person's birthday is this month. So once again, first of all, we need to find out the last row, because we are going to want to cycle through every entry in here. This database is going to grow over time, so it might get to a time there will be 100 entries. So you can't really lock and say, okay, go from row 1 to row 100. You want it to grow from through all the entries you have in the list. So that's why we are trying to figure out where the last entry is, which is by using last row. And once again, you say range, but this time around we are interested in date of birth. So range and rows dot count done. So say end dot excel hub, then give me the row. So found the last row. Most times you might just have to copy this from one formula to the other. It's because I've been typing it over and over, that's why I remember it. But when I started, I was always copying it from one of my former VBA codes to the new one I'm planning to write. Now that we've figured out the last row, we're going to need what we call a for loop. So we're going to say for the first entry. Now if you look at this, our first entry is not in the first row. It's actually on the second row, because our first row is our header. So I'm going to say start from second row, then to the last row. Now that's why we needed this formula. So the last row. So we're going to say if the month of that particular person's date of birth, so range and you're going to start from here, so that's why we entered high here. So range row high. So if the month of that person's birthday is equal to the month of today, of now, right now, then Excel should show us a message box that says today is and whoever spelled the person's first name So we're going to need the person's first name. First name is in range A, column A, range A. Once again, it's going to be color, it's going to be row high, and give us a space. So it's going to combine the person's first name with his last name. Last name is on row, is on column B, and high. Great. So saying, so say today is, this is the person's, well, it's not today we should have entered, should I mean this month is so person's birthday, and I'll end the if loop. For for loops, the way you end for loops is by next. So let's see if this is what you enter. So let's see it work. Let's see it in action. So I'm going to close this, because for it to work we have to close the entire workbook and open it. It's supposed to run when you open the workbook, so that way you don't have to click on any button before you see it. One of the first things you see before you're even allowed to look through the data in the sheet. So I'll close this and I'll save this and close this. So now I'll go here and open it. So I get the security warning of, do I want macros to run? Immediately I click on let macro runs, you see what will happen. Yeah. So this month is Mary Jane's birthday. So what if we have more than one person having a birthday in this month? Let's make one more person. Ken Peter. His phone number is, his email is ken.peter@gmail.com. His date of birth is 13 August 1990. So we enter his data. So let's close, we are done. So I'm going to save this and then I'm going to close this. So let's say 1 month after, we needed to just check for whose birthday is today and maybe enter data for some new users. So I'll click on, once I open it, you see it's going to show me, yeah, Mary Jane's birthday is this month. When I click on OK, it shows me who else has a birthday this month. Ken Peter's birthday is also this month. And that is it. This is an example of where you can use a user form in a real life scenario. Most of you are active in one volunteer group or the other, maybe at church, maybe an NGO, or a community society where you are in charge of the database of users, of members, and you need to send them, you need to make it usable for you. You need to send them, say, maybe birthday calls, birthday messages on their birthday. You need to input new members data. This is a very useful tool for doing that, and whoever you hand over to will be very happy. They will be willing to continue what you started, because nothing can be much more easy to use than this. And so that is it for this video. Don't forget to visit our website and especially our blog. You subscribe, and don't forget the services we offer. We offer corporate Excel training. We build applications to automate your business operations that are relying on data, and we can be your data analysis department. You send us your data, we work on it, and we make them make meaning for you at very low fee and lightning fast speed, and you are sure of the reliability of whatever you are getting from us. So thank you.